Fax Media Global. Little technical difficulties this morning, or this afternoon. Figure out what's going on with that. Um, yeah, it's the midday mix up. Let's make sure everything's on track for the people. We already know what the topic is. SPLC. Right back at it. We'll get right into it.
I am broadcasting on all AM frequencies. I will be at the South Street Seaport every day at midday, when the sun is highest in the sky. If you are out there, if anyone is out there, I can provide food, I can provide shelter, I can provide security. If there's anybody out there, anybody, please, you are not alone. I am broadcasting on all AM frequencies. I will be at the South Street Seaport every day at midday, when the sun is highest in the sky. If you are out there, if anyone is out there, I can provide food, I can provide shelter, I can provide security. If there's anybody out there, anybody, please, you are not alone.
Let me give a shout out, first and foremost, to all the first shifters, second shifters, third shifters out there. You know, putting that work in. It is what it is. You know, this day too shall pass. But for right now, we gotta take care of our families. We gotta do what we gotta do. We understand that the system is working against us, but just like to give a shout out to those people out there caught in the 20-hour shuffle. You know, with the 4 hours to live. I talk about that a lot, and I'm not gonna stop talking about it. I'm gonna keep these situations, these clear and present dangers right in your face, because we looking for answers. We trying to figure out why, right? Hey, let me tell you. Let me be the one to tell you. The topic: who is the SPLC, the Southern Poverty Law Center? You're getting on top of this. This is where we at. You know, they talking about black extremists, and they locking people up. I mean, we're not even gonna talk about what they doing. It's like, what aren't they doing? You know, they want to touch on the subject, and then a week later, they on to the next. Nobody knows which way to go, which cause to support. You know, how to get in line. Nobody knows anything. It's because of the mainstream media. They control the narrative. The mainstream media is the one who controls the narrative and the mindset. Look, see, that's what I'm saying. Alarm clock just went off. That's time. That means it's time to get up and wake up. But before I start where I left off yesterday with the SPLC, let's get into today in history. You know, every day I get into today in history. Today I have some co-hosts, so you have to work with me. Okay. All right. I come. I get it. No, it is on. It is on. It's just sleep right now. Mm-hmm. All right. Now go ahead out there and watch. Eat your cookie and finish watching cartoons. Close the door for Dabbie. Yeah, that's how it is when you got your own platform. This is what happens. But yeah, today in history. In 1606, today in history in 1606, the Virginia Company of London. The Virginia Company of London is established by royal charter by James I of England with the purpose of establishing colonial settlements in North America. Colonial. And we move fast forward to 1816. Today in history, 1816, today being April the 10th. But in 1816, the federal government of the United States approved the creation of the second Bank of the United States. What was that about? I guess they needed another bank to go in debt for the original bank. I don't know. But hey, we understand that this took place in 1816. Everything plays a part. This is phases. You know, everything happens in phases. This is how we get out of from underneath the boot that's firmly applied on our neck. We have to do it in phases. Listen up. Yesterday and today in history, I covered about Robert E. Lee, Confederate Army. They surrendered. Well, today in history, 1865, of course, the American Civil War. During the American Civil War, Robert E. Lee addresses his troops for the last time. He surrenders on the 9th of April, all Union forces. I'm gonna try to figure out, because I want to listen to that speech if it's posted anywhere. I want to listen to his last address, what he had to say to his troops. In 1866, the ASPCA is founded in New York City by Henry Berth. The ASPCA, we all know the ASPCA. If you actually think about it, that you know, dogs and cats and animals receive better care than the homeless in America today. Why is that? In 1868, I want you to pay close attention to this one, people. Close attention. This took place in Africa today in history. Abyssinia is what you call Ethiopia today. But at Arogi in Abyssinia, Brits and Indian forces defeat an army of Emperor Theodosius II. Indian and British forces defeat an army in Africa. While 700 Ethiopians are killed, more injured. 700 Ethiopians are killed, more injured. Only 2 Brits / Indians died. So that means the Brits and the Indians only suffered 2 casualties in this battle. But we see it was the British and the Indians invading, killing. born. 1912, Titanic set sails. We all know what happened on that voyage. It never returned. 1916, the PGA, Professional Golf Association, is created in New York City also. In 1919, today in history, the Mexican revolutionary leader, Emiliano Zapata, Mexican revolutionist, Emiliano Zapata is ambushed and shot dead in Morelos. This is the fate for revolutionists. When you decide to get into this, you must understand, first and foremost, that your life is on the line. Let's get into the birthdays. Celebrating birthdays today. John Madden, he's celebrating a birthday. We all know John Madden, famous for Madden, football game, commentary on the football. 1950, celebrating a birthday today, Ken Griffey Sr. Ken Griffey Sr. also celebrating birthdays. Steven Seagal. R&B singer Babyface Kenneth Edmonds also celebrating a birthday. Kenny Lattimore, we all know Kenny Lattimore. He's also celebrating a birthday. And Q-Tip of A Tribe Called Quest celebrating a birthday today. Guess what, people? Guess what today is? It's Siblings Day. Today is Siblings Day, so I encourage everybody to spread that love, reconnect. You know, we only got one. You're here today, and we're gone tomorrow. You know, so if you're going through issues with your siblings, if you and your brother, you and your sister, you're not getting along, you're not seeing eye to eye, you know, men patch up those situations, you know, make amends, forgive, let's forget. That's what I encourage today. Now let's get back to the topic. I said yesterday I'm getting straight into it, so let's get into this Southern Poverty Law Center ASAP.
Yesterday, CNN published a story with the headline, "Here are all the active hate groups where you live." Now, this wasn't a list narrowed to neo-Nazis and violent anarchists, actual hate groups. Instead, the list was full of regular conservative organizations like the Alliance Defending Freedom, the Family Research Council, and others. In other words, the list was too large and grossly biased. And that's because CNN wasn't listing real hate groups. They were just listing hate groups as defined by the Southern Poverty Law Center, which is a totally irresponsible left-wing organization that casually throws around the term hate group in order to raise money. And it's raised a lot of money doing that. Terrifying, people. CNN eventually scaled back its absurd and irresponsible headline, changing it to the Southern Poverty Law Center's lists of hate groups. Better, but still bad. Why is CNN doing the bidding of the Southern Poverty Law Center? They're not coming on to tell us why. We asked someone from the Southern Poverty Law Center to come on to explain their side, but they just declined like they always do because they are cowards. So instead, we are joined by Tony Perkins. He's president of the Family Research Council, one of the groups slandered by CNN and the SPLC. Tony, thanks a lot for coming on tonight. So you wake up to see that CNN, which is this supposed news network, is describing you as a hate group? What was your reaction?
Well, it was the fact that it's irresponsible and it's reckless, and this is troubling because the media should not be using the Southern Poverty Law Center and their hate map as a means of communicating what's hate and what's not. Because this, in particular, the Southern Poverty Law Center and their hate map have been linked in federal court to domestic terrorism, and that occurred at our place when a gunman came in armed with 100 rounds of ammunition with a hit list, that came off of the Southern Poverty Law Center's hate map. So this is real, it's dangerous, and it's reckless for the media to use them.
Wait, so a lunatic read your organization described as a hate group and showed up with a gun in response?
Yes, it's been, there was 5 years ago this week that occurred based upon this map that CNN put up as a new version of the map, but it has all of us listed. You can go to the website, it shows you how to get there, and this gunman confessed to the FBI that that's where he got his list, was from the Southern Poverty Law Center. Look, they want everybody to think that they're in the crow's nest looking out on the horizon for America's well-being when they're vultures that are preying on the fears of Americans. Like, they've gone after Ben Carson, they've gone after the president, even in Minnesota. They're pushing policy. They're not an objective arbiter sitting on the sidelines. They went into Minnesota pushing a liberal policy in a local school. Parents organized against them, and instead of arguing the merits of whatever the policy was, the Southern Poverty Law Center slapped the label of hate group on these parents. That's how they operate. They're a fear-mongering organization. They've raised over $350 million, which they're sitting on, most of it in offshore accounts. It is irresponsible for the media to use them as a source. The Department of the Army has moved away from them. The Department of Justice, even under the Obama administration, moved away from them because of their questionable methodology.
Well, they're totally fraudulent, and it's not even a close call. I mean, they're completely over the top. You spend 10 minutes on their website, and it's clear this is not a group concerned about hate. This is a fundraising organization with a very specific political agenda, smearing people in order to raise money. Like, it's not, no journalist, no honest journalist would ever use them as a source. It's shocking, actually.
Well, and that's the problem. The
last question, did CNN call you? So CNN describes you as a hate group. You've already had some nutcase with a gun show up when this happened last time. Did they call you to say, hey, by the way, we're going to describe your organization as a hate group? Do they let you know ahead of time?
No, we've called them. We've been having discussions with them about this because it's endangering our people once again. Look, and what's happened here in this last week is again, another case of irresponsibility from the media. You remember when James Hodgkins came to Washington, D.C. with a hit list?
Yeah.
Now, we don't know the extent to which he was visiting with SPLC's website, but we know he was communicating with them. His website or his computer showed that, but he's dead, so we don't know all the facts. But Steve Scalise, who he shot, a friend of mine who I spoke with yesterday, he was on SPLC's site multiple times. They went after him, trying to deprive him of his leadership position. And after that, the media then calls for, hey, we gotta ratchet down the rhetoric. We've got to calm down here.
No.
We've not heard those calls this time.
No, of course not, because they're completely irresponsible. They're completely. I'm sorry, we're out of time. I feel for you, Tony. I hope this doesn't expose you in any dangerous way. Thanks for coming on.
All right. Now, where I left off at yesterday. No, I left off at the Mississippi Correctional Institutions over there at Walnut Grove Youth Correctional Facility in Lee County, Mississippi. And I'm going to pick right up where I left off. Okay. Matter of fact, let me just backtrack this one paragraph and keep it going. It reads, together with the ACLU National Prison Project, the SPLC filed a class action suit in November 2010 against the owners-operators of the private Walnut Grove Youth Correctional Facility in Lee County, Mississippi, and the Mississippi Department of Corrections. They charged that conditions including understaffing and neglect of medical care produced numerous and repeated abuses of youthful prisoners, high rates of violence and injury, and that one prisoner suffered brain damage because of inmate-on-inmate attacks. A federal civil rights investigation was undertaken by the United States Department of Justice. In settling the suit, Mississippi ended its contract with GEO Group Geo Group in 2012. I guess Geo Group is exactly these groups that I'm talking about. Exactly the groups that I speak of, these private groups. They had to have been the private contractor of this facility. And additionally, under the court decree, the MDC moved the youthful offenders to state-run units. So that means they shut down this private facility that was understaffed, wasn't being ran right. Individuals was getting abused, terrorized. So then they had to send all of these youths to state-run units. So that means they sending them with the big boys or just state-run juvenile facilities and not private. Understand? Mississippi opened a new youthful offender unit at the Central Mississippi Correctional Facility in Rankin County. We know who did the work. The state also agreed to not subject youthful offenders to solitary confinement, and a court monitor conducted regular reviews of conditions at the facility. So they had an outside entity, which we need. You know, they don't have to be a state; they can be our own. Also, with the ACLU prison project, the SPLC filed a class action suit in May 2013 against Management and Training Corporation, the for-profit operator of the private East Mississippi Correctional Facility. Operator of the private. Management and Training Corporation had been awarded a contract for this and two other facilities in Mississippi in 2012 following the removal of Geo Group. The suit charged failure of MTC to make needed improvements and to maintain proper conditions and treatment for the special needs population of prisoners. In 2015, the court granted the plaintiff's motion for class certification. Now, this is in the new millennium. This ain't in the 1800s, the AD, BC. This is going on right now. Just because it's not going on in your neck of the woods doesn't mean that it's not going on in your neck of the woods. It's just the fact that the media just don't choose to put it out there. That's the reason. Now we're going to move on to Polk County, Florida Sheriff. The SPLC has went at everything moving. But we're going to get into the finesse. It's another case in 2012. The SPLC initiated a class action federal lawsuit against the Polk County, Florida Sheriff, Grady Judd, alleging that 7 juveniles confined by the sheriff were suffering in improper conditions. U.S. District Court Judge Stephen D. Murday found in favor of Judd, who said the SPLC's allegations were not supported by the facts or court precedents. The judge wrote that the conditions of juvenile detention at Central County Jail are not consistent with Southern poverty's dark, grim, and condemning portrayal. While the County Sheriff Department did not recover an estimated $1 million in attorney fees defending the case, Judge Murray did award $103,000 in court costs to Polk County. Well, hey, see, that's what I'm talking about. We have to watch out. You see how this judge just ruled different situations. Now you got to, who knows how this went down. Maybe it wasn't conditions going on at this facility, but if you ask me, I believe that it was. Look what we're talking about. Polk County, Florida. We know what's going on. Let's move on. Andrew Aglin and the Daily Stormer in April 2017. In April 2017. Not too long ago, less than a year ago. Matter of fact, we hitting on a year today. I don't know if it was actually today that this took place, but the Splc filed a federal lawsuit on behalf of Tanya Gersh, accusing Andrew Aglin, publisher of the white supremacist website, The Daily Stormer, of instigating an anti-Semitic harassment campaign against Gersh, a Whitefish, Montana real estate agent. Of instigating an anti-Semitic harassment campaign. See? Website. See, the enemy, they know how to do what they got to do. They have their central hub, their central network where it don't matter what state you in. You can get in touch with somebody. If you need something, it will be handled. You gotta think about it right now in the state of the world that we're living in right now. We got Walmart. You can call Walmart or get online or whatever, however they're doing it, and place an order. You know, so if it's somebody in your network that's in Nebraska and anywhere where they can find a Walmart at, and they going through some hard times, hey, you have a central hub. It's no problem for them to be able to get in contact in real time to somebody and receive assistance. Don't have to be cash. They can only have to do is get to their nearest Walmart, and that's so easy nowadays because you can have it Uber. Then they can get to Walmart and they'll have perishables waiting right there for them. Exactly whatever they need. Kids ain't got no milk. The kids don't got nothing to eat today. Instead of going out there and risking their freedom, it's going out there and doing something degrading with their bodies. Why not be able to have a call number that you can call? Universal. Because you're a part of a network. You're a part of a network that's pushing towards change. But no, we rather have a Patreon page that's basically getting the enemy rich. Yeah, the enemy is allowing you to eat because he told you that he never really even told you what's the rates, how much money is really getting made behind this online internet thing. They just give you what they want to give you because you have no way of telling, because you haven't acquired the knowledge, knowledge of the technology that's moving so fast ahead of you. And if you don't catch up now, you never catch up. But I'm going to get into another report. I want you to listen up. This is dealing with the same thing, SPLC. Check it out.
The Southern Poverty Law Center, which is focused on neither the South nor poverty nor the law, weirdly enough, aspires to be America's supreme arbiter of what is and what is not a hate group. Plenty in the media have been happy to treat them that way, despite ample evidence the group has an overriding political agenda, an agenda that distorts all it does and makes it deeply dishonest. Well, now, documents obtained by the Washington Free Beacon reportedly show that the SPLC, which is officially based in Alabama, has been offshoring millions of dollars in assets to accounts located in the Cayman Islands, because that sounds legitimate. Joe Shopstall is the writer at the Free Beacon who broke the story, and he joins us tonight. Joe, why are they sending money to the Caymans?
I cannot answer that question. I tried to get it from them, but the accountant hung up on me. They did not respond to numerous requests for comments. We can't really speculate on that.
Wait, their accountant hung up on you and you asked the question?
The person who prepared the forms, I called and I was like, I'm looking for the foreign forms.
Yeah.
And I thought you'd think the accountant, because most accountants, even Clinton's accountants, would hand over forms. She just said, I don't comment on clients, and hung up the phone.
What are the possible reasons you would, if you're the SPLC and you're basically America's moral judge, okay? Why would you be offshoring money to the Cayman Islands? Is there a good reason to do that?
That I cannot answer that question.
Because it's already a nonprofit, correct?
It's already a nonprofit, exactly. So the reasoning behind it, I couldn't speculate on, but it's unusual. A lot of people that I spoke to said it was very unusual that they were sending millions of dollars to the Cayman Islands. They have interests in the British Virgin Islands as well as Bermuda, but we could only find a segment, the 2014 numbers, that showed the $5 million. So there's other segments, like they have the British Virgin Islands, Bermuda. We don't know the amounts on there. They also have ownership in foreign corporations, but each corporation that they have ownership in, they don't meet the threshold of ownership to report it on a form, a tax form.
It's a little confusing when you look at these numbers. $328 million in net assets.
Yeah.
Why would the Southern Poverty Law Center amass more than $250 million?
They make all their money. It's from the hate industry. What they do is, in the 1970s, they served a legitimate purpose. They won a lot of landmark civil lawsuits for civil rights, and flash forward to today, you have them. They swing far left. They're known for the hate map, as you know, which contains conservative groups, mainstream conservative groups, along with actual racists like the KKK. And this turned into a windfall for them. Their leadership, the top people in management, they average probably around $300,000 in pay.
$328 million? I mean, if you really cared about making America a better place, why wouldn't you give that money to the dispossessed or marginalized communities of color, the ones they're always talking about?
Another great question. Okay. They only spend 61.
Did you hear that? How can somebody average 300 and some odd dollars a day? I mean, I understand it happens, but for just the Southern Poverty Law Center? Just for a Southern Poverty Law Center, we got people that's that work. I need an application. Could somebody send me an application, fax it, email, anything?
$1,000 in litigation as well, being a law center.
Yeah, it's a totally fake organization. Joe, thanks for your reporting on that.
Thank you.
Well, the SPLC supposedly exists to fight hate groups. Now it's also turned its attention towards statues, which, being non-living, of course, don't hate anybody. They can't. They have no souls. They're made out of plaster and marble. The group has published a map of every single Confederate memorial in the country, from statues to army bases to middle schools. Tyler O'Neill is the assistant editor over at PJ Media, and he joins us tonight. Tyler, what's the point of this list?
Thanks, Tucker. I think the point of this list is so they can defame organizations with which they disagree. They like to label groups hate groups. They put the Family Research Council on there, Alliance Defending Freedom, D. James Kennedy Ministries. These
I'm for this. You know, if you ask me, I believe every statue, monument, whatever, they need to go. You know, so I'm with that. I'm all the way with it. You know. But It's just, I don't know. One bad apple spoils the whole bunch. I guess you can just say it like that. One bad apple will spoil a bunch.
These are Christian organizations who believe in traditional marriage, that marriage is between a man and a woman, and that's the reason why they're listed as hate groups.
Right, it's ridiculous. So here's what their press release says. More than 1,500 Confederate monuments stand in communities like Charlottesville with, quote, with the potential to unleash more turmoil and bloodshed. It is time to take them down. That sounds like a threat to me.
It certainly does. The worst thing is that they put middle schools, elementary schools, high schools on this list. No student deserves to have to go to school when there's a violent outbreak of protests. No student deserves to walk to school through rocks, through
Well, of course. I mean, of course. So that's exactly right. If you go to Stonewall Jackson Middle School, and the Southern Poverty Law Center is saying bloodshed might result because the name of your school, that's ominous.
It's very ominous. It's terrifying, and no student, no kid should have to go.
Has there been any pushback at all?
So there are 3 lawsuits that are going through the system right now. D. James Kennedy Ministries, the Liberty Council, and then there's one more from actually a Muslim who's been targeted by radical Islamic terrorists and has spoken out against them. His name is Majid Nawaz, and he's been listed as an anti-Islamic extremist.
He's one of the
Now we're about to get into this story about who they're talking about, the Muslims situation. These are lawsuits. And if I told you that the SPLC is also YouTube's watchdog. They're a watchdog for YouTube. YouTube pays them to monitor the YouTube platform. What if I told you that? Would you believe it? What if I told you that Apple, the same phone that you go out and every time they turn around, every 6 months they bring out a new phone, and you make sure that you stand in the line 3 blocks long to go get it? What if I told you that Apple decided to go ahead and give them $1 million? Give them $1 million for, for whatever reason. What if I told you that? That's what I mean. You're taking this thing as a joke, and it can well be a setup. It can well be a setup. You got places like Commonwealth states. We know in these Commonwealth states, they can make a law up. You can go to court today, and you can highlight a situation in law that can get you off. They'll postpone it and write a law up in a week, get it approved, and get you back in court. And you wondering what happened. But with all the controversy, I'm not sure if the contract is still valid, and whether or not YouTube is still paying them to be the watchdog of all YouTube platforms. I'm not sure. But we see that it's facts that we're dealing with right here. We see money is getting transferred to offshore accounts. Mind you, people, this is a non-profit. A non-profit. So if for a non-profit organization, why should they be sending millions and millions of dollars to offshore accounts in Bermuda and the Bahamas? I mean, what's going on here? Let's get into the story about the brother who the SPLC decided to label as a Muslim extremist. Let's get into that.
The the Southern Poverty Law Center says Maajid Nawaz was added to its list of 15 anti-Muslim extremists because his story of once being a former Islamic extremist who now argues for a peaceful vision of Islam is riddled with holes and has been disputed by members of his family as well as fellow jihadists. SPLC goes on to say, quoting, evidence suggests that Nawaz is far more interested in self-promotion and money than in any particular ideological dispute. Nawaz, who flatly denies the charge, is both baffled and furious because he believes his credibility and security are now at risk, saying the SPLC has essentially put him on a hit list, a list that also includes the likes of author and crusader against female genital mutilation Ayaan Hirsi Ali. The National Review argues that people like Nawaz and Hirsi Ali are doing the work the SPLC is supposed to be doing.
Are y'all listening? Listen. Don't let them get you in the cross. This is what they do. This is what they do. They put us in the cross. And we ain't paying attention. But you know what they say about ignorance of the law just because you don't know. That don't mean anything. You know, so keep rumbling and rambling on. Keep up with the nonsense, the beef, and the drama. Not knowing that the SPLC is watching. They labeling. It's not a joke. This is not a joke. Let's move on.
Understanding and countering violent extremists, saying, quote, the SPLC is so drunk on its own poisonous ideological brew that it has simply come to conflate conservatism with violent or potentially violent extremism. In October of 2014, SPLC added Dr. Ben Carson to the list for allegedly being anti-gay. The group later removed his name and apologized. Back in 2012, when the Conservative Christian Family Research Council was added to the hate list, a gunman walked into the FRC headquarters in D.C. and shot a guard. The gunman, who was targeting Family Research Council officials, later pled guilty, saying he wanted to intimidate opponents of gay rights. And through all of this, the Southern Poverty Law Center isn't exactly lifting its stature. 2 years ago, the FBI deleted the SPLC from its list of legitimate resources on hate crimes. Others call it a big money smear machine that uses its nonprofit status to mask highly political fundraising. Shannon.
All right, Trace, thank you very much. So
what do you think? I know some people might come as a shock. Because these stories right here like this, they blow over. You know, they don't get too much attention. You know? Am I right or am I wrong? Somebody might have seen this in the headlines and rolled right past it. Because they don't have no value. Negativity holds all the value now. Negativity is what gets all the responses. The numbers never lie. I watch the numbers. When I decided to get into this media thing, I decided to get into it for real. So when I watch the numbers, it's funny how a person can go from roughly 400 views, 400 viewers, right? Can stick, you know, they had a steady flow. They had a cruising altitude of 300, maybe 400 viewers, right? Without beef. You know, when everything's at peace. You got a cruising altitude. You add a beef into the equation. As soon as any kind of skirmish or verbal altercation takes place, man, y'all Negroes come out the woodwork. Let me be the first to tell you. Come out the woodwork. It'd be the situation like you'll be around and you just all you keep saying is, "Wow, I ain't seen you in a while. Where you been at? Wow, I ain't seen you in a while. Where you been? Damn, long time no see." Cause we love the drama. Meanwhile, the whole time, SPLC just waiting for the right phrase for you to make that one mistake. Then they shutting you down. They shutting your YouTube platform down for months. For months. Ain't no time out. You're done. Am I right or am I wrong? Whole time, we don't know who it is. We don't know who it is that's doing it. We know it's getting done. But now you know. Now you know who's behind it. Getting flagged. You know, I'm only talking about YouTube because that's the platform that I'm on exclusively. I'm not on any other platforms. I'm not on Facebook Live. I'm not on Instagram Live. I'm not doing any of that. So I can't speak on any of those. But who knows? They might got a contract with Snapchat. They might got a contract with Instagram. They might got a contract with Facebook. They had a lot of accolades that nobody knew about. Who knew that they was on the greatest federal list of the greatest people targeting, having the most knowledge in how to target hate groups in America? Is there a course that you take for that? Is there an accelerated course, a college course, or anything of that nature where I could take up that class? Put Ben Carson on there. So he was he didn't like the gays. He was anti-gay. Was that just did they get paid a few million? Was that the $5 million that they got paid to run that campaign on Ben Carson to ruin his chances at running for the presidency? Go back and do your research. Find out. Around what time was it that they decided to put Ben Carson on this list? Was it around the time when he was campaigning for president? And if you see it was any time around that time, it basically take you back to this whole Russia and this Trump thing. It's all about rhetoric and I would say like pictures that they painted. They claim that Russia painted a whole lot of pictures during this election to taint a lot of the candidates. You know what I'm saying? and that Trump was bankrolling the situation. They had internet camps in Russia. Internet camps where you was just basically a slave. They walked around and you were just in front of a computer. This is the new slave. All you do is sit on the computer and you just spread mixed views. You research, you find out anything that you can find out, and you change the narrative and you push it and you keep pushing it. Clickbait, clickbait. Is the SPLC involved in a conspiracy with that whole situation? Laundering money. Money laundering. You're sending money overseas. Is that just the transaction point? You know, you got to send it over there and then somebody else come and pick it up. What's going on? Why isn't this making headline news? This right here should be in news constantly. Constantly. You should, me running this 4-part series should be overkill. You know, this would be in the headline so much that I shouldn't even have the time to even be going over this story right now. I don't hear anybody else talking about this story right now. Because these are some big money players. It's nothing for them to drop off that 2-3 million in an offshore account to get you knocked off. You know, this ain't no $500 hit. This not gonna be no $500 hit. When you pay $3 million to get somebody knocked off, nigga, you're gonna be knocked off. And nobody's going to jail. You know, Officer Friendly coming to knock on your door. Officer Friendly will pull you over. Officer Friendly will stop you. They will send Officer Friendly to stop you right in front of your residence. Wait till you 10 blocks away, pull you over, and put a bullet in your head. Officer Friendly is going to go to trial, and Officer Friendly will get off. Because everybody got paid. $3 million pays this is a little something for everybody. Listen, this is coming from a person that straight from the streets. Straight from the streets. Not no faker. You know. Not no public pretender ass nigga. Ask about me. You do research on me. I ain't never had no public pretender. Unless it was something something that I knew that I could have went in there and beat myself. Yeah, I use a public defender. What I'm a pay? Even my lawyer would tell me, don't use me for this. Don't use me for this. So yeah, but regardless of the fact, if it's any kind of situation where I knew that it was a situation where you know, my life was on the line, not going in there with no public pretender. So I know what it takes. You pay your lawyer. You pay your lawyer because your lawyer is going to go sit down and have lunch. Your lawyer is going to sit down and have brunch. Your lawyer is going to sit down and on the yacht. You know, it's favors. It's favors for favors. Public attorney ain't going to tell you that, oh, we need this amount for the DA and the judge want this. They're not going to tell you that. They ain't going to tell you when I sat down at lunch or that I did a favor for this DA on a case 2 years ago and he owes me. The public pretender is not going to tell you, listen, I'm going to get it from in front of this judge. Me and this judge don't rock. I'm going to file some paperwork and I'm going to get us in front of another judge. Me and this judge is all right. We play golf on Sundays. The public pretender is not going to tell you this. It's not going to happen. And if you never had a paid attorney, the likes of a Stanley Needleman, a Paul Polanski, Margaret Mead, Catherine Flynn, I can go on and on and on. I mean, there's different lawyers for different things. You gotta be. I'm sorry to bust your bubble, but ain't none of these individuals I just named black. I had a couple black public pretenders, and we all know public pretenders. There's nothing wrong with being a public pretender. It's basically you climbing up the ranks. Everybody has to run through the public pretender, unless you had family and you coming up in the lineage. So if your grandfather was a lawyer, he had a law firm, and your father took over the law firm, and then here you come. So of course, you know it's only right that you go. And then you're gonna take over the law firm. Yeah, you're not gonna go through the public pretender up and downs. You might have to go through something during your internship at law school, but other than that, you're going straight up into the big leagues with your dad and your grandfather. But we as a people, we haven't built, we haven't understood and instilled that generational wealth, the generational wealth building. If you got time, go over there, check out JMA. If anybody ain't never heard of J Morrison Academy, it's based out in Atlanta. Look up the website. Go check it out. Do some research. You know, this is what we need to start doing with our time. Forget about the club. Forget about the club. If you have an alcohol problem, start working towards fixing that. If not, if you're not that strong, eventually, everything falls into place. We will have a real rehabilitation program that works. You know, and it's going to be proven that it works because the people that goes through this rehabilitation center, we're going to follow up, keep track of their success, keep track of the success rate, the no return rate. And this is how we make it. Facts Media Global. It's a process. It's levels. Once again, I appreciate all my subscribers. I appreciate everybody coming through and hanging out and following these stories. These are the stories that need to be on the forefront, and they need to stay. You know, not for one day or 2 days, break a new story, and the next thing you know, it's been in the back burner. Nah, we need to keep these in the forefront, because then you begin to open up. You begin to present, you know what I'm saying? You begin to open up the narrative. People start to talk. People start to have interest and try to figure out what's going on. They say, "Oh man, all this time I've been over here focusing on this when I should have been focusing on what's going on right now. What's real right now?" The Geo Group, these private, the prison industrial system. You see, we got one right here. We targeted one right here. The Geo Group. They over in Mississippi, causing havoc on our youth. You follow Geo Group and you can follow the trail where they leading from, because you can understand they got the knowledge from somewhere. They got the idea from somewhere. It's a group. Who's in the group? Who's the head? Who serves on the board? You know, this is the things that we need to figure out. These people are alive. And the only reason why I can figure that we don't is because brothers and sisters are scared, because they know that money kills. Yeah, money talks and all of that, but money also kills. We know this. But I mean, if you understand that, and you understand that you can only go but so far in this movement because you cherish your life, then just step to the side. You can. It's a position for you. You just won't be on the front lines. Facts Media Global. It's been the Midday Mix-Up. You've been live with the KLC. We staying on this topic. Who is the SPLC? Southern Poverty Law Center? I'll at everybody later. Live at 5. Once again, appreciate all the love. First shifters, second shifters, third shifters. Get that paper, but understand it's a purpose. 1.